Welcome out to Fox Sports. I'm Brooke Kirchhoff alongside Nick Underhill as the New Orleans Saints get ready to take on the New England Patriots. The Saints are 2-2 right now, looking to get this offensive identity going, trying to figure out what the identity is on offense. Meanwhile, the Patriots are also trying to do the same thing as they are 1-3. Welcome in to our pregame live show presented by Matt Bowers Auto Group. We're excited to get this thing going.
A little excited. I'm excited to see if they can figure some things out on offense. I do think it is kind of starting to become a code red situation a little bit. Ian Rappaport had a really interesting report this morning, and it kind of echoes what we've been saying and hearing ourselves, that frustrations are starting to boil a little bit with the offense. Things need to turn around, and if they don't, you have to be practical about the situation. So I think this is a very, very important game for Pete Carmichael Jr. I think he needs to figure some things out, and they got to score some points today. They got to get to that 20-point barrier. That streak, that stupid stat of whatever it is, they need to get on the other side of 20 today.
Before we get to the live question and answer part of the show, that's what we are out here to do, is bring this to you guys, the Saints fans. We did see Chris Olave out working with the trainers in pregame. What did you see from that, and what do we know about when that typically happens, what that means for a player?
It usually means there's something that they're trying to figure out with their body, see if it's okay. It looked like Chris was testing his legs a little bit. I thought he moved okay. It kind of looked like he was favoring his one leg a little bit, but nothing too crazy. I'd be surprised if he doesn't play today. It's not anything we heard all week. So if there is something going on, that's new as of like Saturday morning. It wasn't on the Friday injury report. So I don't think it's anything that looked too serious. It was kind of one guy watching him. Usually when there's like a decision to be made, you'll end up seeing multiple people out there. It's like 2 or 3 people, the head coach sometimes, another trainer. So it didn't look like it elevated to that type of situation. So I'm not necessarily worried about it, but it's Chris Olave, and he's possibly the best player on offense, so it is something to definitely keep an eye on today.
Yeah, and inactives come out in about 40 minutes. That's something to keep an eye on. But based on what we saw, he was just testing out maybe a limp in his right leg. We'll see if he is good to go, but it didn't look like it was anything too serious that would take him out. All right, let's get to this Ian Rappaport report that came out this morning about Pete Carmichael kind of being on the hot seat. It's actually looked up a stat. There's 17 out of 25 teams which made a change at offensive coordinator, and it ended up making the team have a better win percentage by the end of the season. Now, this was a chart that's charted the last 4 years, and usually a decision was made by week 8. Now, look, if the Saints were 0-4, I think the Saints might make a decision before week 8, but given they are 2-2 and have a really good chance to get a win today, regardless of the offense really maybe getting out to smooth start, its best start, I think they can beat this Patriots team having a game like they did in week 1 or week 2 when it's led by the defense.
Look, I know people there's a whole year of history. And there was nobody more frustrated than me with the offense last year. At the end of the season, I said it would have been malpractice to bring them back. They ended up bringing them back. We heard the reasoning behind it. They looked around. They tried to explore their options. There was like 17 OCs hired this offseason. The people they would have targeted weren't available, so they didn't want to make a change for change's sake. Okay, fine. I understand that. You come into the season, you got to give them a fair shake. I mean, you got to give them more than 2-2. Like 2-2 is just not the time to make a move. So I understand that. Personally, I think it's 2 weeks away, though. If they are bad today and they're bad next week, and look, these are not easy games. You got a Belichick run defense, a D'Amico Ryans run defense. If they are still sputtering after the next 2 weeks, that's when I make a change. But I do think that you let them know. You strike the match. And that took Ian's report is kind of like a striking of the match a little bit. Like there's something there that's coming from somewhere, and I think that's kind of letting Pete and everybody know, like, hey, like patience is starting to run out a little bit. How do you feel? Do you feel like it's time, or do you feel like Pete deserves a couple more weeks?
So I think one thing stood out to me this week is when we continue to ask Dennis Allen over and over, do you have confidence in your OC? Do you have confidence in the play calling? Do you have confidence that Derek Carr can get it going? He kept going back to, look, we're focusing on this game. There was never a clear signing of, we believe in Pete Carmichael, we believe in what this offense is doing. It was more so addressing, we have a lot of problems and they have to get fixed. And to me, that's kind of that red alarm going off a little bit, that he is a little bit under fire. And if Pete does not get it together, there is going to be a change. Now, whether we know if that change happens or not, that's going to be the interesting thing. They might bring in somebody like we've been talking about, like a John Gruden, or they might just pass off the play calling to Ronald Curry. It might be something that we don't necessarily even know that a change might happen, which is interesting.
It's definitely possible, but I think DA's in a situation where optics matter, and if you make a change, it's to let people know you made a change, and it's to kind of save yourself a little bit too. Because look, he's tied to all this. If they aren't good on offense, like, it's going to bring him down if they don't win games. So I think if you make a change, it buys you a little more time to kind of figure things out a little bit. But It's definitely possible that there could be a shift in responsibility somewhere and you never hear about it until after the season or something like that. But if you put RC in that seat and you don't let people know that RC's doing it and they're succeeding, like, that's kind of filthy too. Like, he deserves the credit for it if it works. So it'll be interesting to see how it goes. But yeah, I think we're 2 weeks away, and look, this is so dumb, but like, I do think that they're going to be better today. Like, I think they just have to be. I think that pressure's there. I think they're going to respond. It begins and ends with quarterback Derek Carr, who we did see throw all this week, and it's actually not super cold out here today. I know we probably look like it's a little bit colder weather, but we're from we are coming from the New Orleans weather where this is actually quite nice. It's probably getting up to the 60s right now, so the cold weather isn't necessarily going to affect Derek Carr's AC sprain, which is something that I was trying to see once we got here how the weather felt, because usually with cold weather that's something that can definitely play a factor. But Derek Carr also looked better this week than he did last week. It seems like he's coming further along with that AC sprain. Yeah, he looked better in practice every single day this week. Look, we only see a small window though, so it's tough to actually have like very solid information there, but just the way he operated, moved, the stuff we saw, everything did look a little bit better this week. So I don't think he's going to throw 13 passes behind the line of scrimmage again this week. I think they'll be a little bit more vertical, and they need to be. They need to have some of those explosive plays. All right, last thing before we finally get to a lot of these questions. I see you guys in the chat. Who do we think is going to be inactive and active today? I think they're going to have one of the guards, and I think that's the only thing that matters. I was told they both traveled here, Andrews Pete and James Hurst. Now we'll see if they play. Kind of taking a look back here to see if we see anybody. I see James Hurst over there right now warming up. So that's a good sign. That seems like a very, very good sign that James Hurst is going to be able to play today. They just need one of them. So if you got Hurst out there playing, that's a really good sign that he's out there right now. Yeah, not with the trainer or anything either, doing some BAM work. So it looks like he's going to play. Like, he's moving, he looks okay. So that's definitely a step in the right direction. Charles Bird, the strength and conditioning coach, is out there, but he's not close to Hurst or doing anything with him. So this looks like a guy that's going to make an attempt to play, if not play. So I think they're going to have at least one of them today. Good sign to see. All right, let's get to these Twitter questions first that these people put in at 10:30. Why should we have any hope whatsoever when we see the same play calling and execution over and over again with no changes in the players nor the coaching staff? I don't really know how to answer that, to be honest. Like, I think you got to believe in the talent a little bit, though, and just hope that they get out of their own way and they make some plays. I mean, that's really it. But, I mean, can I give you a reason to have hope? Like, no, like, nothing's changed. So until you see something change, I don't know. You got any reasons for hope? Like, I don't necessarily know that they exist until we see them. Yeah, well, the Saints have already played lesser opponents, and we haven't necessarily seen them kind of break out and be the, like, wow performance that we've been expecting to see. We should see that today, as the Patriots are only averaging just over 13 points a game, but the Saints are only averaging 15 points per game. So we'll see what happens there. All right, next. Is the offense struggling because they run receiving routes into the strength of the defense? Yeah, sometimes, for sure. Like, I don't think they've done enough to attack the middle of the field. I've been talking about this all week. Like, there's just stuff they're doing that doesn't necessarily make sense. Sometimes it feels like they're running into coverage. Sometimes their route concepts don't seem to be, like, designed to attack the coverage that they're going up against. So there's definitely some of that happening, and I think that's something that they need to change. I mean, that's why we're complaining about the play calling. And that's something that's actually, you can see, it's tangible. You got guys running into coverage. They're going against cover three, like they're running everything to the sideline. You got the sideline acting as an extra defender there. Like, so there are things that they could do to open this up a little bit and make things a little bit easier for Derek Carr. Yeah, speaking of Derek Carr, he just rolled out. He does not have any type of sleeve on or anything like that on his throwing shoulder. He looks to be good to go today. All right, let's get to the next one. Do you think DA's inability to move on from Pete will cost him the locker room and his job? Pete didn't want this job after Peyton left, and he calls like it. The defense is doing soul searching on the sideline, and Kamara is fed up. How should a transition start? Which I think is a little bit interesting. We haven't necessarily broken it down in that way just yet. Yeah. Breaking it down start to finish, how that would happen. I don't think that he's going to lose the locker room, because it feels like he's aware that there's an issue, and I think he would make a change if things continue to get bad or go poorly. So I'm not necessarily worried about him losing the locker room. I mean, there's definitely frustration, though, and if they don't do things to clean that up, I mean, then you would, but I don't think he's going to let it get that bad. How would a transition take place? Like, I think you just fire him and you put someone else into that role. You reach that boiling point. You kind of draw your line in the sand. Okay, things haven't gotten better. They play a game on Sunday, Monday or Tuesday, OC gets fired, and you bring somebody in or you elevate Ronald Curry. But I don't think it would be like a slow process. It's something that would just kind of happen all at once. Yeah,
and to part of this question, I don't think it will affect the locker room if they do move on from Pete based on what we heard from Alvin this week. All right, speaking of Pete, is he playing for his job today? If so, anything you're expecting from the offense today?
I think a little bit. I don't know if it's necessarily one game, but like I said, I think it's a 2-game window. And what am I looking for from the offense? 20 points. You got to get 20 points.
At least.
How about you?
Yeah, it's getting off to a fast start. Look, we've seen them start their first 15 plays scripted so well. Now it's a matter of, can you continue to go within the flow of a game? And what a great test with a guy like Bill Belichick, who is going to give you different looks. He is going to make it very difficult at the beginning of the game. And if you can't get it corrected and get it fixed based on the looks that they're giving you and figure out where the offense is going to have success against this Patriots defense, the Saints are going to be in for a long day, for sure. All right, should Derek Carr come out and hurry up to get this offense jump-started? I don't think so.
Yeah, I don't believe in that. I mean, sometimes you can use it a
little
bit.
We saw a little bit of it last week, and it didn't necessarily really do anything for them.
Yeah, I don't think that's the cure-all. I mean, in certain situations, but like the thing is when that stuff's working, you're going against like a prevent defense. It's a soft look. You aren't going to get that look early in the game. So sometimes the situation dictates that, and you can kind of drive down the field a little bit with it. But the defense is giving things up too.
All right, next question. Do we think we will see more Kendre Miller today, given the fact that Tony Jones was waived, also is Andres Pete playing today?
I hope we see more Kendre Miller. He played like 5 snaps last week or something. I thought that was a little bit nuts. You need to get him involved. 3rd-round pick, effective player. Like, let's see him do some stuff.
All right, we haven't seen more made of an effort to get the tight ends involved. We seem to have some more talent, and they were placed on the practice squad. I know Juwan Johnson is hurt, but there seems to be a little seems to be 2 little throws that way with the weak offensive line play. Do you think a quick dump off to a tight end would be the way to go?
Sure, I'd love to see one. They just aren't doing it. I don't know why. I mean, that's one of the mysteries. Juwan not being out here, I think, kind of probably takes it a little bit away from the tight ends this week. You get Foster back. He's not necessarily a massive threat in the receiving game, but he's good in the red zone. So get those guys involved in the red zone a little bit.
Here's why I think it can really work with Foster today when you have a quarterback who's really been struggling. This is something I've kind of been eyeing over the last few weeks. With Derek Carr struggling to get this offense going, usually quarterbacks go back to playing their strengths, and there is a connection between Derek Carr and Foster Moreau that we saw in training camp. I wonder now that he's back healthy and that the fact that the offensive line has not necessarily figured out all of the pass protection issues, but it's gotten cleaned up over the last couple weeks. Find Foster Moreau.
I'd love to see
Go to him. Go downfield. I think we're going to see potentially a heavy load for Foster Moreau today.
I hope so. I mean, it's something they can do. That stuff over the middle has just been abandoned completely, and just add it in. It's get easy completions.
You're going to love this next question. Should Michael Thomas be called on to do even more than he has?
Yes. Yeah. Well, he's been targeted on the lowest percentage of his routes in his career right now, and he's highly effective. He's making plays. He catches every pass thrown to him. Give him the ball. Let him eat. Like, Mike is such a cheat code. Just give him the ball on a slant over the middle. Like, let's see 2 of them today. 2 slants, like, for 8 yards each. Like, that's just such an effective play. Like, I would love to see it.
And when you talked with Alvin Kamara this week, he said that him and Michael Thomas kind of got together and were like, dude, we got to make this happen. Like, get the ball to the playmakers. That is who they are. Find Alvin Kamara. Find Michael Thomas. Let these guys eat on a field where I think they're going to have some success given some of the secondary issues the Patriots have today.
No question. It's not 2019, 2020. They aren't, like, prime-time players, but they're still highly, highly effective, highly talented players. Easy way to move the chains. Will
the Saints be able to get pressure again?
They should be able to. The Patriots' offensive line has struggled a little bit. Mac Jones kind of holds on to the ball. They should. And if they don't, then I think it's something to worry about.
All right, last question from Twitter, and then we will go to the YouTube chat. Is this a show-and-tell game for Pete Carmichael? In other words, is this game where we decide if the offense is what it is?
You go first.
Yes.
Yeah.
You're week 5. Your offensive coordinator is already getting talked about. His job is on the line. This absolutely is a show-and-tell game, not just for Pete Carmichael, but for this Saints team. And a lot of people are questioning Dennis Allen and his ability to maybe move off of a guy that he's really liked and he's worked with for a while. Sometimes you have to cut those friendly ties if you want to be a successful head coach. How often do we talk about some head coaches that have success are just plain old jerks and not nice guys, but they have success. Other guys that have been the nice guys in this league haven't necessarily had successful careers. And I hate to say that because Dennis Allen is a fiery guy as a defensive coordinator. He's one of the best defensive coordinators in the NFL. We've seen that. Now as the head coach still calling the defensive plays. He just needs to be able to lean on somebody who can handle the offense, and DA doesn't even have to worry about it anymore, and he's just not in that place right now.
Yeah, look, I kind of agree with that. It definitely is a show and tell game. Yeah. I think that DA will cut bait if things don't go well, though. Like, he knows how dire the situation is. He's frustrated with it. All the signs are there that he's frustrated with it, and if things don't go well, I mean, it kind of writes itself. Like, you kind of got to listen to your locker room at a certain point. Alvin kind of made it extremely clear that he's unhappy with how things are going. That's one guy. Like, that means there's others in there too that feel the same way. So this just can't keep going like that. And I don't know if you find the DA to Sean Payton had DA and could kind of let go of the defense. I don't know that you find that in season, but making a move at least opens it up, and it makes it so that you have to go get someone. And if you do have to go recruit an OC this offseason, now you have a quarterback, you have healthy Mike, you have Alvin not facing suspension. There's pieces there that this would be a somewhat attractive job, maybe not necessarily like top tier number one, but someone would want this job and you could get a talented person. Last year coming into it, you didn't have a quarterback. Mike was hurt. Alvin was facing suspension. It was hard to recruit. I think the circumstances are a little bit better right now.
I'm taking a quick look because somebody asked, is Ryan Ramczyk's foot okay? I'm looking to see if we see any offensive linemen out here. We don't yet. That doesn't mean that that's an issue. That it just doesn't seem like the offensive linemen have come out yet to get some work. So we're going to go ahead and move on from that. But, Nick, did you see anything this week with Ryan Ramczyk that was concerning?
No, not really. I mean, he was practicing on Friday. It looked like he was good to go. So I'm not worried about that one.
I have to ask you this because I think 20 people have asked this in the chat and on Twitter. How do you feel being back home?
This ain't home. Pennsylvania's home.
It was part of
Pennsylvania's
home.
home.
This was part of home for a while, though, being in Boston.
Yeah, it was. This is the place that sent me back, though. I came back, and it was like, nope, time to go. It took me 2 months. I was fed up. I had to come back to New Orleans. So, no, this ain't home. This ain't ever going to be home. Pennsylvania's home. New Orleans is home. This is not home. This was just a stop that helped me find my home. So this ain't it.
Man, I hate to even ask the question the way it's written here today, but if it says if Carr sucks today, how long will they stick with him?
Oh, Carr's not going anywhere. He's a starting quarterback. They aren't going to make a change. Yeah. I don't think they should either.
All right. With our starting O-line this week, are we back to firing on all cylinders, or are we broken Gallopy? Galopy?
Hold on, say that again. Brian Brzee.
Yeah, Brian Brzee just walked over.
Yeah.
I know, we need to eventually get one of these guys who just pop in. We got AK behind us here. That's Nick's guy. They were asking essentially now that the offensive line is somewhat healthy with the starters. We'll see what happens with the guard situation, but they're asking if the offense can click on all cylinders today.
I don't know that we see all cylinders. I just don't. I don't have the confidence in it, so I can't say that until we see something happen. I'm worried about it. Like, I need to see it. I need to see it to believe. I think it's there. I have like, for some reason, I have some optimism about what they might be able to do today, but I don't think that you can go into this expecting anything until you see it.
Somebody asked if Paulson Adebo was playing today. I guess we can get a quick look to see if we see him behind us.
I expect him to play today. He was practicing on Friday with the starters. I would be surprised if he does not start. Joe Woods basically said that he was going to start this week, so that's something that I do think is going to happen this week. Who
do we think is going to burst out on offense today? I mean, I mentioned that Foster Moreau might get a lot of the attention today, given that Derek Carr is just trying to get back into a groove, and one of the guys that he's known and has had chemistry and success with is back and is healthy. But who do we think is going to lead in production from receivers, and kind of go in order from 1 to 5?
Well, the first part, like, bursting out today, like, I think if they have any creativity in the offense at all, we should see a lot more Rashid Shaheed. That's something that should be happening. He should be more effective. I saw a stat the other day among guys that carried the ball over the last few years. Tyreek Hill is number 1 in miles per hour per carry. Rashid Shaheed is number 2. But look, I think that he should have a much better game. I think he should be involved. I think he should make some plays, and that's what we should see. As far as leading in production, I'm always going to go Olave number 1 in yards, Mike number 1 in receptions. I think that's just probably what it's going to be every single week when they are operating the way they should be operating. So, but yeah, bursting out, like, I think if they're at their best, Rashid Shaheed is making plays and you're talking about him.
This is another really good question. Not that we've gone there yet because we're still waiting to see if a change is made, but let's say they do move off of Pete Carmichael. This person in the chat is asking, what are the other candidates at offensive coordinator outside of Ronald Curry?
Coming in, like, I think the issue is that you have to have somebody that has DNA in the offense and kind of knows it and can kind of run it. Like, bringing someone in off the street to take over midseason that would need to implement their own system, their own language, all that stuff, like, that's the thing. Like, when you call a player, you talk about something like there's people that speak English, there's people that speak French, Dutch, German, Japanese. Like, everybody says it differently. You got to get used to it. And once you pick it up, you can kind of pick it up quickly because there's similarities through all this stuff. But, like, doing that, firing someone on a Monday and then starting over on Wednesday, like, it's impossible. So that's why everybody says Gruden. That's why everybody says Ronald Curry. Those are the most likely people that could come in and do it.
Do you think that that's an actual possibility, though, that they would not necessarily bring Gruden in as an analyst, but fire Pete and give the job to Gruden, given kind of the back history there?
If Gruden wanted the job, I don't know. Like, I think it would be possible for sure. Like, there's things to consider. His case with the NFL is still in court right now, so that's something that you kind of got to look at and maybe wait to see get settled. I saw an update the other day that it got, like, delayed again. So that's something that you have to keep an eye on. But I do think if Gruden wanted the job, it's something that you have to seriously consider, considering the situation there. And I know there's a lot of off-the-field stuff. There's, the comments that he was under fire for. You got to know how your locker room feels about it. If they feel like, this guy's a pariah, that's something you have to take into consideration. But if you feel like you could bring him in and it ain't going to wreck the locker room, it's definitely something to keep under mind and have in consideration.
Real quickly, Edwin's on the camera over here of the field. Look, we just saw Chris Olave running a couple of routes. I saw him behind your shoulders. You were breaking the new offensive coordinator potential situation down.
So that looks fine.
Chris Olave looks fine. He was in full stride. Look, he looks like he's still testing it out a little bit. So we'll see what happens here. He's about to go up for a catch here. Right leg looks good to me.
Yeah, he looks good. He's going to play.
Another question from the chat. How many turnovers do you think the defense has today, if any at all?
I'll go with one. I think they get Mac on a pick. I think something will happen. They can disguise a little bit, fool him, have him on his heels. If you get the pass rush going, I expect that to happen. So I would say one and possibly two. One guy that definitely has been around the ball and just hasn't been able to complete it, Alante Taylor. Like, it would be good to see him kind of break out and get that first pick. He's been close. It feels like he's been knocking on the door. So if I got to pick someone, I'm going to go with him.
All right, last question here.
Who you got on the pick? If someone's getting the pick, who's your guy?
If I'm going on the pick, Alante Taylor has been all over the field, but I think Tyrann Mathieu is due.
He's been knocking on the door,
Tyrann Mathieu is due. We'll see what happens here. I think him not having his guy Marcus May next to him he hasn't been going up and, like, hunting the ball as he would, because he's trying to make sure they're in the right coverage. But they do get Jordan Howden back, but Jordan Howden's left hand is still kind of looking like a club. I was actually looking to see if he was out here yet with that left hand wrapped up, or if he's going to have a free hand. I doubt he has a free hand. It is probably going to be wrapped up. But before we get out of here, give us some predictions before we close this live chat up.
All right, so hold up. We did 20. Did we do a 20-point over-under? What do you got the over-under on 20 points?
Under.
You're going under 20. I'm going to go over.
Okay.
I don't know. I feel good about it. I feel like this is a game they're going to – man, it's crazy to call, like, 20 points to break up, but I think they get to 21 or 24. I'm going to take the over on it. So I'm going to say over 20 points, and I think they win the game. I think they should win the game, and if they don't, it's a disappointment.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. But thank you guys so much.
Are they winning?
You got to pick a winner. I mean, I said the Saints would win in our show on Friday. I really wish I would have gone with my gut last week and picked the Bucs, because it just didn't. Baker Mayfield in that offense was clicking. Derek Carr in this offense just has not yet. Maybe they will when they're outdoors and beautiful weather out here in Foxborough. It is just beautiful here at Gillette Stadium. Not a cloud in the sky. Not chilly. It'll probably be a little bit colder in our post-game. We will be live post-game at 7 o'clock Central Time after this game is wrapped up, breaking everything down. Hopefully we have good things to talk about on the offense. But that will do it for Nick Underhill. I'm Brooke Kirchhoffer, live on NewOrleans.Football. Thanks so much for joining us for our live pregame show for our question and answers presented by Matt Bowers Auto Group. We'll see you in post-game.